Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your very humbled host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. So anyway, so it looks like somebody's the dead end collection better. What better be worth it? Your investment in time. Hey Michelle, how are you? And much love to y'all. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, let's see. This is Tuesday now, Wednesday. The other day being Father's Day, and I love you too, sweetheart. And I was thinking, um, I don't deserve a Father's Day card, gift, phone call, or conversation from my daughter or my son. And I was thinking to myself that, Alexander, hey, Scotty boy, how are you? Yeah, I'm fixing to be. I'm running a few minutes late here with wanting to start this, but Duggar's on the hunt out there. There may be armadillos in the yard that he's barking at, but I mean savage barking, like to bust out the window. I mean, like calm down, dog. Two children. I've been neither one of them for 15 years. Yeah, see, that's about me, dead end. I've got my son whose birthday today's the 20th, 21st, depending on, but his birthday's the 19th. And so would love to send him a birthday wish, but all forms of communication, even by some of my other relatives and by some of his relatives, um, to try to wish him a happy birthday. The entire my side of the family has been shut off, just shut off. And it's like, I might have been a lousy parent. Although I tried, I was still a lousy parent. And I think a lot of us who, we had our issues, me being adopted along with my sister, and we were both from the same mother but different fathers, and blah blah blah, that long-winded story of, but it's the truth of how we got started. And so there was immediately tension in our family, because of the situation. And so I tried to reconcile with Bessie when she was dying, and there was just no reconciliation of any kind. She didn't do anything wrong, and it was all in our heads as children. And, she didn't do anything wrong. And so we were the bad kids, and there was nothing wrong with her parenting. And it's like, okay, well, I have, accepted that I screwed up. Okay. Hey, Miss Chloe, Scotty boy, who else? Chloe, Michelle. Okay. Yeah. Um, and I know I goofed up. And for a long time, I really, really, really tried. And I thought I was making headway as being not the best parent, but at least a parent who had been a drunk and who had been, a drug addict and who had other mental conditions and problems. Um, was I tried to do better, and I did. I have done better, but there are some things that, for whatever reason, some things just cannot be. There's no redemption for it. In other words, there's nothing that you can say or do that will change their mind or whatever. Now, I don't hold. I held a little animosity for my daughter because last year when I was having my heart attack, She was supposed to come up with my granddaughter to see me in the hospital, which I was very lonely and hooked up to all these things. And, there was nobody locally that came to see me because I don't have any real family here. And so, I could have really used a family. I could have really used my daughter being here to help give me comfort. And she decided to go fishing instead. So when I found that out from my granddaughter, I called my daughter and I just I said, I disown you. You know, of all the times I've never asked you of anything, I've always wanted her to come up here. I wanted to leave her the property. I wanted to do these things, and I've been trying to begging her to come up and see me. She only lives down in the panhandle of Florida, down there near um, Panama. I mean, um, 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 Pensacola. And so, with all of this said, I'm trying to be the good father, and I want to, will the land to her, and I want to talk to her. I want her to meet people, and I've talked about this in previous videos. And then she just turned up and said, you know, I don't care if you had a heart attack or not. Yeah, you didn't die. It's okay. We had decided to go fishing anyway. Well, but she was supposed to come up with my granddaughter, which I haven't seen in a long time. And it wasn't just the fact that she didn't come up to see me or that she chose to go fishing. It was that she denied me being able to see my granddaughter, which just sucks. So it's like, all right, I've made my mistakes, okie dokie, and I've owned up to them, have admitted them in public in places, to the point is like, there's some things that I don't want to discuss because of the other side of the family kind of thing. But yep, I'm messed up. But I've done my best over these last, let's see, I'm 70 now, at least since I was 45. So for the last 60, 50, 25 years at least, I've been trying to make corrections and have been, really trying to make, you know, connections with the universe and deciding to follow a shaman's path, if you will, versus just hanging around the universe and stuff. Guess what, David? Just as there is bad parenting, there is also bad childrening. Yes, I agree with that. Oh, and they've made their stuff. But see, I don't, I say I hold a little against my daughter in that all I've ever tried to do is to be the best. And she was adopted out, and her mother wanted her adopted and so forth, but kept her. Um, and over the years, I've tried my best to try to include her. Let's do things. I went to Ohio a couple of times. There was a time when her mother was in the hospital and having heart issues that we dropped everything literally, and within a few hours, we were on our way to Ohio. And, just there were things that we really went out of our way as far as my daughter is concerned to try to be family. And then when my heart attack came up last year and she was like, it's okay. There's no worry. I was just like, I really could have used you, you know. I'm calling you from the hospital with beep machines and stuck all over me. And you would, oh, Pa, we went fishing yesterday, and they were like less than 100 miles from me where they went fishing. So, but anyway, but there's bad childrening too, they can be bad kids. And with my son, who I think was 51 yesterday, um, I told him years ago that I would not interfere with his family, that because of bad blood, and his wife really had an attitude against me. No matter how much my son and I had apparently fixed, his wife, current wife, brought it all back up. And so every time she saw me, she'd bring it up and go, "Well, doesn't when you see your father, doesn't it bring up bad memories and all this kind of stuff?" And she wouldn't even get out of the car when she came down here and saw how nasty my place looks. With cars up on the fact that my house is made out of recycled materials and stuff. Oh, you grew up there? Oh, when she's in a three-bedroom brick home with, worth, $250,000, and her father worked for $125,000 a year for 20 years. Imagine how much money he had. And a working farm with big John Deere tractors and equipments and stuff that are worth more than the value of my life kind of thing. And so, she stuck her nose up right away. And it's like, but she still married him. Well, if I'd done such a bad job, then how come, well, then it got to the fact that he couldn't be nothing that I taught him. He couldn't accept any of that. Oh, well, I taught you how to do that. No, you didn't. I learned this from some guy down in Tallahassee. Wait a minute, I taught you that when you were like 16 years old. Bullshit. No, I didn't learn how to do that. I was, wait a minute. Um, so no matter what I did in teaching him as he was growing up or all the camping and stuff, oh no, we didn't do that. No, you could. So he could not accept anything that I taught him at all. Well, my dad didn't teach me shit. I learned this from this person. I learned, hey, Katniss, how you doing? So it's like I get no credit at all. Okay. But it's like, but hang on. There were absolutely, with all the crappy things I did, or, when I was a drunkard and an alcoholic, and the times I spent in jail and got busted, you know, I'm sorry. I had problems. I had personal issues. And not only that, but I had several bad head concussions, which really screwed up my head, and that nobody would pay attention to with my problems and crises that was going on in my head, and the fact that I was hearing shit and talking, and now I have accepted it in different ways, but back then there wasn't anybody for me to talk about the voices in my head or whatever. The worst enemy can be family. There is nothing that can make you feel more discarded and useless. That is true. But I don't feel that way anymore. I had to give all that up. And I stayed away from I'm still staying away from my son because I don't want to be that old curmudgeon. As much as I would love to see my grandson, that ain't gonna happen. I'm hoping that one day before I die, when he moves out from being at home, that he will, wonder what his grandpa Noel was like from, whatever because they don't talk about me. Yes, I'm there, but everything else is to the other side of the family. Okie dokie. You don't want to acknowledge this poor old hippie dude down here in the woods that is trying to, finish out the rest of my life in a positive way, in whatever way I can figure it out. Hey, Super Scream, you look like you're doing well. I'm doing fair. I've been actually having some trouble uh, breathing. My heart rate has been okay and all that kind of stuff. My blood pressure was high today, but I got some of my meds mixed up. But I've actually been struggling. But I don't want to bring it up, and I don't want to make it a negative. You know, I am walking. This Friday, I will be going to therapy at the Marine Center in Moultrie, which is very good. They do all kinds of sports things and stuff to try to um, 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 heal you from any accidents or traumas or whatever. So, but anyway, so that'd be nice to go there and see what's going on. and maybe get some water therapy, some hydrotherapy. But I've been having trouble, just catching my breath, and here I am smoking a pipe. But I just catch my breath and just feel like I'm fixing to, not be able to breathe. And, I have to calm myself and take a deep breath. And it feels like I'm not getting enough oxygen. And I take, and I calm myself. But today was one of them days where I've had to just sit here and regulate my breathing at several times, sitting up, trying to lay down. I did make it up to the top of the driveway and back, which is the length of two football fields, I might add. So down and back. But so you're not the only one, David, but we deal with what comes. Right, Scotty boy. I struggled when my dad passed in March, as none of his other children forgave him. Yeah, I understand that. I, for example, I forgave my adopted mother, but she didn't think that she did anything wrong when she, picked on my sister and beat her and locked her in the closet. And that ain't counting what she did to me and her own son. But the woman was demented in some way. And I've been, in mental health for years. I was Baker acted and thrown in the mental hospital, which is now closed down, the Southwestern in Thomasville. I had to spend 3 days in there, and then I realized I'm not crazy when I look at all these other folks. But with medicine combinations and physical issues like head traumas and just stuff, and I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to not be frustrated or wanting to die or whatever, So I am trying to work it out all the time back then. And so, but there were people who were just like, we just don't understand you, Dave. But listen, I don't understand. Why do you think I'm going to therapy? I don't understand what's going on in my head. And I wish it would fucking stop. And no matter how much meditation, but see, I'd had head traumas. I'd had, some medicines that were given to me that was overprescribed by a quote medical doctor, and and I'm trying to work them out. So, but I was condemned for that period of time because nobody understood what was going on. Neither did I. But nobody gave me credit for the fact that I was working my ass off trying to figure out what was wrong. And I kept telling people, there's something wrong. I don't understand. Help me. I don't know what the help is that I need, but I want to not be this way, right? And so here I am after all this time. Am I still crazy? Probably, but at least I've got control of it. Mostly, I think. But so my efforts. Ooh, Duggar's chasing something again. So, in my efforts in my old age, and I've been trying my best since about the age of 50 for the last 20 years to do better, to change my life, to rectify any things that I did in the past. I contacted people that I thought that I had injured and asked them if they would forgive me for my behavior of whatever length of time it had went by, and for whatever thing that I thought that I had done wrong that I wanted to apologize to them for. And my ex-wife called me one day and said, "Listen, I've had a little talk with Jesus. Hey Steve, how are you? I've had a little talk with Jesus, and I want to know if you will forgive me." And I was like, "For what?" She goes, "Well, of just stuff. I don't want to go into it, but we'd been divorced for years." And she goes, "I just want to know if you will forgive me." And I was like, "Well, anything in particular? No. But I did some things wrong in my life, and you were part of it, kind of thing. And I just want to know if you'll forgive me." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, no, I'm serious. She goes, do you really forgive me? And I paused and was like, I don't know where this was coming from, but it was coming from a church kind of thing in the Bible and all, and forgiveness. And I said, yeah, I forgive you. Enough time's gone by. I'm not mad at you anymore. And, you know, quit talking bad about me to our son, but, you know, yeah, I'll forgive you. So later on in life, I realized where she was coming from when that phone call. And because I was doing the phone calls, what time is it? 1:20, 1:10. I got a bowl ready. What happened, Scotty? I'm sorry, Steve. What happened? Mom? Oh, it's ER with pinkish green urine. Sorry about that, Steve. Yeah, Scotty boy. It's the kidneys and the liver that didn't get the memo. I take a combination of medicines. I don't think it's ever turned out pink, green and yellers and different other kinds of colors. But I hope your mom will. It's 111. My nose is healing well, also good. Mark the Ark. Ween right back at you, brother. So I don't know. I know there are quite a few of us who are middle age or older, and for all the good things that I on not to toot my own horn, but you know, from being the person who did all these, who was the lousy father and who could have done things better and all that. Yeah, I could, okey doke. And at the time, there were times when I was drunk too much, or but I'd had neck surgery in the '80s, and there was a lot of issues I was having with that. I'd had a bad accident that was not my fault, but that got me a conk on the head and put me in the hospital. So I'm having head injury issues. I'm having neck injury issues. My hands won't work because of the neck injuries and so forth. The surgeries didn't work. I had to go back in. So a lot of issues that took me out of being normal in life, but my son had to tolerate all that time period. He had to put up with me being in the hospital. Well, how do you think it fucking felt for me? I didn't really want to have this done, but I did. Well, actually, I did want to have it done because my hands were numb and I couldn't feel anything, and I wanted to get better. But the time spent and the issues that I had was not my fault. It was circumstances. And so, but my son, and of course my daughter, she was living in Ohio, so there was very little to do with any of that. Other than she was getting to know me during that period, long distance, and we had actually met. And she tried to stay with me for a little while, and that didn't work out. And so I've tried over the years to be a father to her, but it was always long distance and phone calls and whatever. And I've tried to help her out in different ways. My son, on the other hand, my mom had some was willed a very large sum of money, like six figures kind of money left to her. And so that she had plenty of money to buy him things like he drove around a BMW for years. And here I had was a little old Isuzu pickup truck. And he was able to buy, 30 to $50 a pair of jeans or these Carhartt stuff, and just, when, I could barely afford to buy him a pair of socks, let alone, $50 worth of on one pair of jeans. So, he always had this other side as a Gemini that, he was kind and all that kind of stuff, but he was also very, very selfish. Very selfish. Well, I want that pair of jeans, or I want this, or if I'm going to have one, I'm going to have that. Mom will be 88 next month. Hope she make it. Hope she makes it another month. Summer tomorrow. Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Maybe that's why I'm feeling kind of funky. It's also, I think, when is new moon? Every time new moon comes around every month, I have a couple of really low bad days. And the other day, I had diarrhea, have no idea where it came from because I'm very careful with my diet. And my stomach was upset, my brain wouldn't work, and I'm like, what the hell's with this? But so, and then I've had the, trying to breathe thing. It's 116. That's if you judge good parenting by monetary gain. Well, see, to him it did. And I've worked two and three jobs, to using another tip. What? Bromelain? Activated charcoal. Oh, yeah. Charcoal's always good. Folks back in the day, when they cooked everything over an open fire, they got natural charcoal because the meat was burnt at least around the edges, kind of thing, and they just munched down on it. And there are people, it's like, ooh, that's burnt on the chicken that's burnt on the outside. Yeah, them that charcoal glaze on the outside of that chicken, and the charcoal that comes with it. But yeah, it is good for your stomach. And charcoal filters are for all kinds of stuff, and you can just literally go, and depending on the types of charcoal you might have, um, you know, burn a piece of wood and crumble it up and chew on it. That's charcoal. I don't know if I'd go out and get a charcoal briquette because sometimes they treat them with lighter fluid and stuff, but you know, anyway. So in being a lousy parent, is it time? No, I'm still wishing. I'm gonna start early. So in being a lousy parent without redemption, seriously. So the without redemption is that I'm saying that I have tried to make amends. And I think somebody said something about grudges. Yet I don't have any grudges. I'm a little concerned, like, you really did that to me? Did I really deserve that? You know, just ask her. Am I just that bad of a person that I deserve to be shunned while I was having my heart attack? My son was gotten in touch with, and everybody in the hospital knew my son. Oh, you're Samuel Knowles' father, aren't you? Yep. But um, one person was sort of related to him through his wife. And oh, it's good to meet you. I didn't know that that your father was still alive. And, so my son, when asked by relatives who called him on the phone, he was like, no, I don't care how he's doing. Although he knew what my condition was, which was interesting. So, but was there a phone call? Was there anything? Nope. Um, I did pretty well come to terms with having a heart attack that knocked me out of the ballpark. It could have killed me, and because of the bad condition I was in, might have killed me. That's why they stuck me in there so quick and said, nah, you know, you messed up, Mister No, with a 238 over a 198. You know, I was fixing to pop a fuse. But anyway, so circumstances sometimes will motivate people to like come out of their whatevers, but none of that happened with the heart attack. And I wasn't really surprised, to honestly tell you. I was a little hopeful that, damn, I had a heart attack. Will that cause anybody to call me? Well, my daughter went fishing instead. So it's 120 now. Oh, good. It's a 20 somewhere. Cheers, everybody. So that's what I mean by redemption. Is there any, there are sometimes there is nothing we can do to change the circumstances. Whatever I did or whatever his long 20, 30 years ago stuff, it's way in the past. It's nowhere in recent history, it's a long way back. So you would think that time heals all, but some folks will hold a grudge just forever. So hey Barry, how you doing? Hey Mark the Ark. Uh Ivermectin always helps me get through. Oh, I tried charcoal once but didn't like how it tasted and it stained my gums. Yeah, it's how you take it as well. And you don't need much charcoal. You can buy them cigarettes with the activated charcoal and tear the thing apart and just get it into your stomach. So there were things. Who dark what? Redemption is a two-way street. Some people can find a way to at least somewhat redeem themselves, even a little. Even if no one else forgives you, at least you can do better in the future. Probably right. Dark tennis ball, is that what it is? Dark tennis ball. Yeah, that's exactly it. Some of this stuff happened 30 years ago, and I thought we had it like resolved, but times have changed, and for some reason the older they get, well, you could have been a better father. Yes, I know. We've talked about this. I was an alcoholic and a drug abuser. I had mental issues, but at the same time I still worked. I still, kept a job until I got hurt. I still kept a job. I did my best to keep food on the table. The house in whatever shape it's in is paid for, and 18 and a half acres. All of the things that are here on the property are all paid for, so I have no credit, but all of the things that I have tried to do over the years is buy tools and equipment and things like that, and I got old and my back was bad, and so here I am now, but I did my best to do, and I can't take none of this shit with me, so it's supposed to go to my son and my grandson and all this. Well, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want none of this because I'm the poor side of the tracks. She married into money, okay, and their shit don't stink, literally, and when she came down here one time, she refused to even get out of the vehicle. That's how bad she don't like it down here. And so it's like, Samuel, you grew up like that? I can't believe it. And your father, he did, and he still lives like this. And it's like, yeah, well, I was a pioneer. I dug my own well, for crying out loud. There's still a hole in the ground up there. Yeah, no, I didn't have the money to, I didn't make $125,000 a year like your daddy did. I'm sorry. I tried to get them good jobs, but unfortunately, I got busted and spent a year in prison, and that kind of screwed up everything. and I couldn't get a really decent job. But every time I did, I always, if there was I became assistant manager in a hamburger joint years ago in less than 3 weeks because I knew how to. I'd worked on the carnival and I knew how things worked, and within 3 weeks they made me the assistant manager. And there were several other places. And I worked hard, and I showed them that I worked hard, and I always got more than the regular guys because I learned more, I worked harder, I did, So if there was there were guys that had been at a job that there for 2 or 3 years, and when I got there and worked for 2 months, we were making carpet backing and weaving and the plastic. And so I worked in the extrusion rooms, right? And where they extruded the plastic. And so I caught on right away. And I understood what the RPM was, and it just clicked. And so I knew how the combos was, and then within 2 months they made me line leader. And there were guys that had been there for 2 years who didn't get promoted. But and I wasn't kissing anybody's butt. I just did my best. If there was something on the floor, I swept it up. I didn't wait for the supervisor to ask me to sweep it up. There was one job where they made lenses for glasses, and they used a lot of rouge. And then these machines that did all the polishing and everything, was our job to clean the machines out every single night on third shift, because they worked 2 shifts with this stuff and it would clog the lines. And it was our job to unclog the lines and keep the machines clean. And so, within a month, they had moved me ahead because I had already learned so much. Because, and then if you were done with the machines that you were given on a particular night, um, then you could go sit in the break room until 7 o'clock and it was time to go home. Well, I was usually done by 4, and I mean clean machines. And the supervisor would come by and go, "Wow, no, that's a really good job." Well, go sit in the break room, or I'd go help a buddy of mine because I was bored of sitting in the break room. But I always had a tendency to piss people off. So my son does not give me any credit for that. That for every place that I went, I always achieved the highest possible in that place where I was working. And it might have only been a 20-cent raise, but I got it because of my effort, because of working late when they needed me to. And so, but none of that counts for anything. And those are the sacrifices we make. The small sacrifices. Every day you have to go into this place and you have to work under these conditions, and I thought I'd have some kind of something that would have killed me by now other than the heart attack, but that's close enough, you know. Because of all the chemicals and stuff that I've been around, I mean, and have breathed over the years, all the I mean, I used to work in, with high speed steels and exotic tooling and exotic metals, and with titanium dust, and we'd blow these nasty boogers every morning of the titanium dust and cough it out of our lungs and stuff. And I just figured that shit would have killed me by now. It might have helped with my heart issue, but I doubt it. But anyway, but so I know that there are other people that I worked with under the same or similar conditions who worked just as hard for their families, who couldn't buy a home at the time, but rented a single wide trailer, an old single wide trailer, 2 or 3 bedroom, that ain't nothing but in the line, right? And hey, Diane, how are you? I was thinking about you yesterday, today's Wednesday now. It would have been Sunday, I think. How you doing, Diane? I like to keep it simple. A one bottle treatment. What? I used to like Jagger. Jaeger. Yeah, I'm still trying to get better. Good. You're okay? Good, good, good. One shot and I had quite the buzz. Yeah, but I got a bottle of Jack Daniels sitting right there. And I have, threatened myself to have a drink, but, it would go against all of these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 medicines that are sitting here on the table. But, I love Jack Daniels, and I haven't had, it's sitting right there. And there's a bottle of gin over there. I have, there's some really good gins. But anyway, I think one shot or two. Oh yeah, if I had two shots, I'd be wasted. I'd be really buzzed. Two shots, yeah. And man, me and my friend Marcia, who's been, gone 2 years now, we finished off a bottle of Jose Cuervo, and I drank the worm one year for my birthday. We watched the sunrise. We talked about it years later, and was like, we should have had alcohol poisoning. We It was a fifth or a quart. It was a big bottle of Jose Cuervo. Anyway, for my birthday, S- stick to government juice for now. Government juice, government juice. Okay, our okay, Katniss. What is government juice? What do you mean by that? Stick to government juice. Natural what? Water. Oh, oh, my water comes out of the ground right here on the place. You know, it's my water. You know, there's clay in it. So it's my water. You know, and I got two 1,000 gallon containers with rainwater in it. And a lot of people say, "Ooh, rainwater! Ooh, rainwater! Ooh, yeah, okay." But rainwater goes into the ground and then it comes back up. But the rainwater hadn't killed me yet. And at the age of 70, and with all the testing and everything as I've had, as y'all know, there ain't nothing else wrong with me. My kidneys failed because of the crap I put in them. But otherwise, everything's humming along pretty good here at age of 70, thank goodness. When folks had said, "Oh man, you got an open well, it is covered, but yeah, it is basically just a hole in the ground. I mean, you've been drinking out of that for all these years? Yeah. You've been drinking rainwater? Yeah. And you're not dead yet? Nope. I'm still here." And so, as everybody, well, because you have the kidneys, yeah, but the kidney issue is because of all the ibuprofen I took and all the other aspirins and things. That's the reason my kidneys are bad. Okay. It ain't because of the water I've been drinking. It's not because of these other issues. It is because of this. Why am I having a heart condition? Because of all the shit I smoked. I used to smoke 2.5 packs a day, you know, starting out when I was about 14. So, but I have smoked. I'm down to 3 days on a pack of cigarettes. So, at 20 cigarettes divided by that 6 cigarettes a day ish. But that's the age of 70 when I started smoking at the age of 12. The fact that, that has cause for my heart condition, okie dokie. So, but I created that. It wasn't something else in the universe that did it to me. So, but anyway, so in the redemption category, for me, the redemption would just be just talk to me again. That's all. Just talk to me. That's all. Well, even my daughter, I told her, Don't call me, don't write, that I ain't going to answer." Well, I was really, really pissed at the time. And if she was any kind of a daughter, she would have given me time to cool down and said, "Yeah, I thought like yesterday well, Sunday for Father's Day." She might have called and said, "Listen, I know you're probably still mad at me, but I still love you, pops, and happy Father's Day." And that could have been that. Could have been a text. It could, but no. So I didn't receive anything. So, she's got her attitude, which I think I just helped her along, because if she refused to come see me after a heart attack, then she didn't really care about my well being to begin with. So that's why I haven't seen her these last few years. So I have to accept that that's why she hasn't come to see you. She doesn't want to. Oh, so she's been lying to me about these things. So there's the honesty thing. So they have been honestly lying to me about how they feel, or, "Oh, I really wished I could get there." Well, you come to find out they like 40 miles down the road. They've been fishing on the lake, and they couldn't call you and say, "Hey, we're 50 miles from you. Can you come down?" No, nothing, not a word. So, I'm not high on their priority list, which is, well, okay. I've been trying to come see you, but it's not reciprocal. So the redemption is for me, and I see other people going through similar conditions. Their children, one son, is great, and another son, is pissed off. Sometimes it's hard for kids to see their sick parents. I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. And that's one thing that my son had said at one time. He said, I told him at one time years ago, I said, "Look, if I get really bad, I want you to take me out in the mountains in Montana and take me up into the high elevations and just drop me off, and I'll be barefoot." And he looked at me and he goes, "Nuh." And I was like, "Well, rather," and I was comparing it to, rather than put me in a nursing home and let me die there, take me to the mountains and drop me off and let me get eaten by a bear. If you're asking me which I would rather have, take me to the mountains. I really don't want to go to a nursing home and just waste away. So, what sort of brings up a little sidebar on wasting away in nursing homes. If I knew that, because of my heart and this and other things that are failing, and I can't make it on my own here any longer. There's no way that I can stay here, or, that I must go into an institution and I must live this way. And for me, it's very hard to do, and whatever sickness or blood pressure, whatever, and that, I lose my quality of life, as I would call it. Um, should I have the opportunity to say, "Okay, I choose to make this the end of my life"? Call Dr. Kevorkian, if any of you remember who he was, and let's get this over with. You know, Well, but you might have another year or two to live. Yeah. But you want me to live in here, and I'm shitting in my diaper, and I have to ring a bell, and the nurses have to come, and nobody ever comes to visit me, and I'm living in this thing, and I'm not happy. I'm ailing. My body is failing me, and I don't want to wait till everything conks out. I want to go now. I would rather go now as to wait for all this other stuff to fail. Yeah, but you might live another year and a half. Okay. But as my condition worsens, I'm going to be bedridden all the time. And then you're going to have to be on a catheter. and then I'm going to have to do this, and then I'm going to have to do, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to live this way. I don't want to die this way. The land around my place is to be auctioned off at the 11th of July. 124 acres. That's a nice spread. And will you all hold that? Duggar's outside and he's banging on the door. Give me a second. Well, 10 seconds. Okay, 30. I'm coming. Quit banging on the door. You're the one that's been barking and jumping through the window. Give me a minute. You been outside chasing? Huh? You been outside chasing everybody? Huh? You been outside chasing everybody? Hey, Duggar. 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 Here's my wayward son right there. Come here, Duggar. Give me a hug. Come here. Give me a hug. Yep, there's my wayward son right there. Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Rest your weary head. And don't you, I got it in my head. What if you're planning on, oh, he provided an answer to suffering as part of my spiritual journey. I let go. Yeah, I had to do the same thing, Mark. I had to let go years ago. And as much apologizing and as much effort that I put in, I realized that I was just beating my head against the proverbial wall. And I was like, I mean, even my feelings inside, like, oh, I wish that he'd understand, and oh, I really miss him. And I do, but I had to shut all that emotion off. It's like, nope, I can't feel as much as I, in my heart deep down, I miss my grandson, but I've never had the chance to really meet him. I played with him when he was like one, and that's been all those years ago. So since 20 something, 2005 or 6 or somewhere in there. I can't remember. I could look it up, but so it's been a while. So, he's, pushing into a teenager by now. Uh, yeah, but and this is my 10 cents on the property. If you can afford to buy it and it's at a decent price, invest in land because no matter what, it's an investment. And, it's for hunting, it's for this, whether you develop it or not. I always, if I had enough money, there's a place, across the street actually, and there's another place down the road that's like 10 acres with a pond on it. But they want 140,000 for it. It's got a really nice shop and everything, and it's about 10 acres. The pond's not the best, but it could really be cleaned up. And it's right down the road, almost at the edge of the county, right? It's less than a mile from the county line, literally. It's, yeah, less than a mile. On not necessarily a dead end road, but not a lot of traffic. So very local, very, very, very local. So, but 10 acres out in the country, with a pond and a shop and an old, double wide trailer that maybe you could live in still. And if you knew how to fix one up, you could go in and do whatever. But to the point of that, If I had the money, I would invest in that because it's got a really nice shop, and there's a pond, already dug kind of thing. And I would love to have a pond to be able to grow fish and some other aquatic things, and it would be nearby. And I've got friends who would probably I may be able to rent the double wide if we could fix it up, but to have property, I've always looked at that as a decent investment. Now there are places I've seen some people buy for less than a 200 by 200-foot lot for like a $500,000. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's just crazy. That's, but if you could buy a decent piece of farmland, that you could rent it out to other farmers or whatever, lease it like they do around here. You don't have to do anything to it. You could, maybe depending, you might be able to get there are still, they have in the state of Georgia, and you have to sign up for it, but they'll help you plant trees, so you can plant, pine trees. And in 20 years, they can go in there and cut them pine trees out, and and pay for the land essentially. So that's what my next door neighbor did over there. They their trees aren't that big, but they could still be sold. Um, you know, I've got some trees on my property that just one tree it's ancient. It's 100 years. I've got several trees that are over 100 years old here, and I mean right up here on the hill, because there are trees that are on my hill that are 40 years old, and these other trees were there for the last 40 years. So if they were 40 years old, that's at least 80, but they were a lot older than 40 years old. But anyway, so I've got some really old trees on my property, and that's not counting what's down on the river. So if I really wanted to, I could have some of these pine trees cut out, you know. In fact, my buddy Rob, he's got his own sawmill, and I had discussed, there's a tree down over here that, um, I'd like for it be an open field where we went in last year and cleared it out, some underbrush and stuff, and but to take that tree, before lightning hits it or something like that, let's take it down now because it's nice and straight. And there's enough wood in it that we could build a small house with it, you know. And so put it through his sawmill, which is a couple miles down the road, and tote the wood over there and cut it up and let it dry out. Oh my God, some of that pine, because that tree's over 100 years old. God knows what that would look like. And so that would be an investment because there are people who will pay good money for heart pine like that. And the fact that we would saw it ourselves. So there's an investment there. So, land is an investment, and you can put trees on the land. You can put fruit trees on it. You could put pine trees on it. You could rent it out, like I just said. So, there are things you can do with the land that can net you. If nothing else, you can be aesthetically pleasing. You can go out and sit in the middle of the property and just go, you know. I tried to buy some of the land about 6 years ago. Scotty, I'm hoping I got at least 10. And my uncle died at the age of 87. So theoretically, I could go another 20 years if I don't go crazy and do something stupid. I know that, like today, having issues breathing was not a lot of fun, and I think sometimes it's psychological where the brain and the heart, my pulse was good. It was low. I checked my blood pressure. It was a little high at first, but it came down. I was sat here and did it. I've been able to regulate it and so forth. But, when you're trying to and you haven't had a cigarette or nothing to smoke, and it feels like you're drowned in, and I know what that feels like because I've almost drowned a couple of times. So knowing that what that feeling is like, you can't catch your breath. Oh fuck, is today the day? uh well, so far so good, so I'm still here. Quit worried about it. Some days are like that and some days ain't. So I'm hoping I can be here. I hope my right now my goal is I'd like to see 80 now. Yeah, today was a little scary, and I've had these episodes before. And it's just like I've talked with the doctor about it several times, and I was like, I get this little twinge right about here, and all of a sudden it just my brain says I'm not getting enough air. And I know damn well and good I am. So my brain's getting some kind of signal wrong. So like I was sitting here in the chair and I take a deep breath and I let it out, and my brain's going, you can't breathe, and I'm telling my brain, no, you're wrong because I just took a deep breath. Take another one. Oh, I'm not getting enough. Yes, you are. Calm down. Whatever's going on, deep, let it back out. It's nothing special. But my heart rate, I'm hooked up to the thing. There ain't nothing going wrong. My pulse rate is low. My BP is 120 over 75. Um, but my brain is trying to tell me I'm not getting enough air, and I know damn well and good I'm breathing normal. You know, I've got I got a lung full of air. What are you trying to tell me? I'm not getting enough air? Bullshit. You know. But you feel that way, and it's really odd when it happens. Really odd when it happens. But my it wants to send you into a panic mode. And it's like, no, I know I'm getting enough air because I just took a deep breath all the way from my diaphragm. So as soon as I prove to my whatever side of the brain that, hey, you just took a deep breath. Yeah, well, whoa, stop it. You just took a deep breath. Yeah, you let it out, and you took another deep breath, right? Yeah, then you're getting enough air. Cut it out. Quit whatever your brain is trying to tell you. It ain't there. But the feeling is so strong whenever these little incidents happen. And I almost pulled out the nitroglycerin and put a tablet under my tongue. And I was like, I don't know if this is one of those times because my pulse rate was low. It was like 60, you know. Um, but anyway, so um, in this struggle for life, today's incident kept me from going outside and running around and playing and doing anything. We did walk up the driveway and dump the garbage, and Duggar went for his walk. But and I was, I'm here tonight and able to do Robert's show and so forth. So, which takes energy for me to do, and some planning and this and that and whatever. But to the point about that though, so I'm grateful for every moment that I'm able to draw a breath. And on that, I'm going to light this cigarette. I intend to live to 100. Nate is my impetus. I'll take 2 years unimpeded and I'll be happy. This kind of living ain't living in my book. But see, I'm kind of going through that now. You guys was with me before I had the surgery. So a friend of mine showed up the other day with his wife, who is out. She had hey Amanda, how are you? You're watching from the hospital right now. Well, holy crap, is it you? But she just went through the colon cancer operation and this and that in the hospital down in Tampa. Brandon, actually, yeah. And they're moving up to Old Town, which is up there on the Mississippi River, Mississippi, the Swanee. Ju- And so they came up Sunday, or was it Saturday? Saturday. Yeah, Saturday they came up just to say hi, and they were bored, and to let me know that they were moving in and they were going to be a lot closer now. And I've known Brad, God, for the last 60 years at least 60 years. So, because there was our next door neighbor kind of thing growing up in Tampa, and we just known each other for all this time. So, but anyway, they just showed up out of the blue. Hi, how you doing? Blah blah blah. We were in the neighborhood. Well, what, 2.5 hour drive? Well, it's closer than it used to be. Well, I agree, but oh, and we wanted to ride in the Jeep and everything. So, but anyway, so you like those kinds of interruptions, but at the same time, they're interruptions. you know, they're still interruptions. But I love them to death, but she had just gotten out of the hospital good from having all those operations and everything, and it was good to give her a hug. And he's had back surgery, and I've had my back surgery. And he said, it's only been 3 months, Dave. And I went, yeah. And he goes, and they operated on you twice, don't forget. And I was, well, yeah, because pulled up my shirt and showed him my scar, right? And they were both like, oh, holy shit, Brad's got a scar, but it's like this long, and so, and the fact that they pulled their muscles apart and had to hold them apart and all that kind of stuff. Um, and that's the kind of pain I'm having right now. I'm not having the neuro pain that I was having. So, the pain has changed, but the pain's still fucking there. It's hard for me to stand up still. It's hard for me to walking with my legs doesn't hurt, but my back's screaming at me. So, want to go to therapy and try some hydrotherapy. So, in my mind though, did I trade one kind of pain for another? And so as I talked with Brad, who's had 3 back surgeries, we're still gonna end up with pain just because we're getting older, and because he and I worked on the carnival so much and we lifted so much weight and we did, we really, ruined our body by tearing down carnival rides at the age of 12 and 13. And then doing it continuously for, 25 years or more. And then doing other things like, working concrete and blah blah blah, and you lift an 80-pound bag of cement, and that's going to wreck your back, especially when you do it for a living. So those kinds of things happen, and so we have collectively ruined our backs from manual labor. Honest, good, sure enough. So my decision to try to get my back fixed one problem, but it did it give me another. So we'll see. And it has only been 3 months. And so I need to just be quiet, do my homework. In other words, I need to do my own exercises and walking, and make every time Duggar barks to go outside, instead of bitching at him, I go get him. I go let him out because it's 20 feet each way, so that's 40 some odd feet to let him out the door. And then there's the going to the door and the letting him out and the thing. And sometimes I go outside myself, which I don't mind, but so then it's 40 feet back. So then bark, 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 let him back in. So I'm getting the benefits of letting him in and out. It's my excuse, but it's the exercise portion of it. So the fact that I am getting up and down, and I'm fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to lick this bitch as far as the pain is concerned. We'll see. But in life, sometimes we make these trades. And I went into this with a good thought. It has went well until the hematoma. I had to have it done again. And, my back has healed very well. But as far as the pain is concerned, so if in the universe of things, they cut my kundalini my chakras. They went in there with a spray hose and so I also feel that it wasn't just my physical back, but it was the chakra areas that were affected also. So there is healing on different levels. Now, not just for me, but for Charlene, and for Brad, and all of us who have had these issues. And he was just out of the hospital. She's just gotten out. I was just in. So we've, we're we're survivors. You know, and we're all of the same age. I'm the eldest of this little group, but Brad's right behind me. He's 66, I think, and Charlene's about the same age. But we're old people. And we've had some serious issues to be have to be operated on, and for whatever reasons, and his heart attacks and his stent, and me with my heart attack, and now the back surgery. So, and her with cancer, and all the stuff that we have gone through with the medical. So, but anyway, a lot of lessons. But what do I mean after saying all this? We're so freaking glad to be here. We are so flippin' glad to be here. You're getting released tomorrow. Did you say why you were in? We love you, and with all of us, you're added to the list who of folks in the hospital recently or currently. So we hope you do well. Absolutely. Prayers go to Amanda. I've made it through the operations and everything, and I haven't been on recently because I've been trying to deal with this pain thingy on my own, and I don't want to talk about my tumor is bleeding, but I'm okay. Well, that sucks. Can they go in there in any way and like cauterize it? If all of us here, we could do an intention healing on you and see what happens. Yeah, and Mark, the arc. When every time I do a video like this and we pray for somebody, I automatically, for some reason, I don't doubt that at least our prayers and intentions for whoever we send it to are going to get there. Now, it might not be a massive healing kind of thing, but I always have believed that when we send our intentions and prayers out, that, they actually get there. Now, one thing that, um, I talked about Isby on uh, uh, um, Robert V's show tonight, and I want to do a separate show to just talk for my talking about Isby, um, and my dedication. I don't have any pictures or anything, but my stories and when he was here, the couple of times he came up, and some of the things that we talked about. And where was I headed with that? Oh, that's one person that as many prayers as was sent towards Isby, it didn't work out the way we figured. I honestly didn't think Isby was in as bad a shape as he actually was. He told some other people, but between he and I, you're going to lick this, bud. Keep positive and stay with, and our prayers are with you. And our prayers were with Isby, but the prayer circle thingy didn't work for him. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And it depends on, I mean, apparently he had brain cancer, okay, but he had tumors. Apparently he had two or three or four or five, and oh my goodness gracious, I did not know. But I knew he was sick, and I was sending him love and healing. And when he was here, I sent things home with him, and we sat and chatted and had some smoke, and we smoked our cigarettes, and we had a drum session, and and sent him back to Florida, and we were supposed to go kayaking. And the last time I talked to him about 10 days ago was, he's going to come up and we're going to go kayaking. So, well, so in the fall, as soon as I get better, I'm going to have a I'm going to have a kayak paddle. Um, and if anybody wants to come join me, they can. But me and Doug are going to do a paddle, and we're going to do it because we like to, but it's also going to be in honor of Isby. So, because he couldn't make it, it's in my eye. It sounds worse than it is. They cannot remove it. And I've been dealing it for over 20 years. Oh, I hate that. My tumor and I are friends. you know, there are certain things, Amanda. I've got this. I think aliens put it in me. I've got a spot down here on my left leg that years ago became it was this big around. I've talked about it before, but it was about this big around and was an open wound almost to my bone, right through the muscle. And 3 or 4 times a day, I would have to take a Q-tip with alcohol and peroxide it and clean it out of all the gunk that would accumulate in just a couple of hours. And it took me like 9 or 10 months, and we tried antibiotics. I tried salves. But the biggest thing was I had to keep it clean of all this pus and junk, and so I just kept after it. But during that time, I developed this lump in my leg, um, about 4 fingers to the left of the because I have a big scar from it that was as big as my index finger. I could stick my finger down in this thing. It was horrible. But then there's this there's this lump that sometimes it feels like it's about that big, and it moves around. Because right now I was like, normally I can put my fingers right on it, and if there are times when, like right now, I don't know where it is, and I'm scanning my thigh, and then there are other times when it literally is popping up almost out of the skin, and if you just get close to it, it hurts. Oh my god. And right now, it's like I don't know where it is. Um, but my left leg is numb in places, um, like right now around the knee, but it doesn't bother me. It's like, yeah, but it's just stuff you live with. But I don't know where this thing came from. And they were talking about, well, if it ain't bothering you, Dave, well, why should we cut it out or mess with it? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So, but it's still annoying at times. And, if it isn't a tumor, it's some kind of cyst or something, because have had cysts before to have been cut out of me. Um, and so it's like, okie doke, that's what it is. It's a cyst. But it moves around or whatever. So, but anyway, um, but it just appeared one day and it started to hurt, and they were talking about transplants back in the day, and I swore. I said they put that first. They infected me with this god awful flesh-eating virus that's in my leg, and then they put this, because I don't know where this tumor thing but it hurts, and at certain times it does, and aliens did it. I'd almost convinced myself. You still have to accept it yourself. Absolutely. Has to be the same bit. Like a third nipple. Yeah, down on my leg, but it doesn't protrude. Yeah, and oh, by the way, my right breast has finally gone down. It's and the nipple has, which it was about 6 months ago they took me off that med after, I had grown a right breast. But it's interesting. It's still more sensitive. than the left one. Just like, what? Never mind. Just an interesting observation. But yeah, so in life, what would be redemption to someone? What would be their idea of redemption? Would it be that, like my children or grandchildren would, be crawling back to me and wish to come back into my life, or is it a phone call, or is it just, you know, the maintain the same protocol as has been going on for a while? Is there any change? Should I like expect a change? Should I anticipate a change? Or should I concern myself at all about, because from my point of view, there's nothing wrong. You know, you could call me, you could show up, you could do a lot of things, but you haven't done any of them. So, and I have tried. So, how much trying do I do? How many times do you get slapped in the face? Do you keep trying for whatever redemption, and what the F did I do wrong anyway? Because I thought we were good, and somehow over the years, people have talked to you, well, your father should have been better understanding. Well, yeah, but you shouldn't have been such a dickhead, you know? You were doing this and you abandoned your children, and I never abandoned my children. I was working two or three jobs. I was literally getting food out of the garbage. Had worked out deals with some of the supermarkets for some of their older produce. I would be there on certain days and they'd give me boxes of squash and whatever was going on at the time. And oh, we were eating out of the garbage. Well, in a way we were, but none of the food was like rancid. There wasn't any bugs on it. And we ate as good as a lot of other people. That it was the vegetarian times when there wasn't much meat around, but back then you could still buy a hamburger at a decent price. So you could buy a pound of hamburger for a buck or buck and a quarter or whatever. So, and turkey sausage was, or it was even cheaper back then. So, but anyway, because it's just been that long ago. Yes, I think so too. Having the little I can see on my eye helps a lot at work when things escalate at work and I get beat up, for example. Oh, I hate when that happens. Oh, we had a guy on the carnival that had a glass eye, and he used to just freak folks out with it. It was, he'd pop it out, pink, and drop it in a glass or something, put it in his mouth and roll it around and wipe it off and pop it back in, you know. And then there was Columbo. You ever watch Columbo? He had a glass eye, and he would look, and one eye would always be like over here, and a Peter Falk, I think. But anyway, that eyeball that follows you everywhere. You just can't seem to get away from it. But no, so for redemption, you know, I'm still looking at, so number one, what did I do to deserve the current situation? Like, why would you not allow your grandson to come see me? Or at least call me on the phone. Hey, Grandpa, how you doing? Still alive? Okay. You don't have to come see me. You don't have to participate, but you're going to withhold my grandchild because you don't agree with, the fact that you know, would I like to have my situation change? Yeah. Do I wish that when I was working for $7 an hour, it would have been $15 an hour and I could have had a better lifestyle? I wouldn't have had to work two jobs. I could have spent, quote, more time with my children. Or I could have had a better car to get around. I could have had a telephone. I didn't have a telephone for years. So, I was accused of not caring for my son when, they'd tell us on Friday afternoon, you got to work tomorrow. Well, back in the 80s, we didn't have cell phones and stuff. There were a lot of people that didn't have phones at all. And I was one of them because I couldn't get service down here. And so, but the idea though that somehow, I was at fault for not calling the right people when it was two old ladies down the street and they could barely hear and write down this message and I have to work tomorrow. And then my son waited on the porch for me because I didn't show up for him the next day when I'm, got to work 10 hours on a Saturday and I can't get to him. So then I have disappointed my son. Well, I'm sorry. But the reason I had to work that overtime was so I could keep my job at $10 and stuff an hour. And at the time, I was making time and a half for overtime and double time for over 50 hours. And there were many weeks we put in 5 and 56 hours, sometimes 60 hours a week. And so I was making good money at the time, and I was able to pay for things and give his mother, on time checks for child support and all these things. It was all positive, but it got spun to the point where I didn't care about my son because I didn't call or show up when actually I was working my butt off trying to support him. So because mama, was against me on it, she was like, "You should do better with your son." Well, but I'm trying. Don't you? Well, he waited all day long. You could have said, well, if he's not here by now, they must have called him in to work again. They do that to your dad. And don't be mad. He probably had to go in and work today. But no, she built it up the other way. He doesn't care for you, and see how he can't even call. Well, you don't have a phone. I didn't have a phone. I had to go to a payphone and put $2 in quarters in to call you for 3 minutes if I could reach you. It ain't like it is today. So, but there is still animosity for when he was like 6 years old. You didn't come and get me. Are you still on that shit? I mean, like seriously? Have I not told you? Well, you said that you were high a lot of times, and yeah, there was a lot of times I was doing cocaine in the bathroom, so I could work 60 hours a week. But it doesn't mean I took that money from you so I could get high. I was working, and the cocaine was to keep us all awake. Was a group of us in the plant. We were like, we had our cook break, and we did not go to the break room for our cook breaks. We went outside. But anyway, so, so stories are told and then they're twisted in the child's mind as to you don't love me and you didn't care for me and you listen, you son bitch. Do you have any idea the heartache I went through? The nights I cried because your mama wouldn't let you come see me when I was there, the times that, she held you against me and plotted you against me. And then later on, when you got older, how you plotted against her and against me. And, cut it out. Aren't we grown adults now? I'm 70 years old. The redemption in this is to just stop it. Just whatever thoughts are going through your ratty little brain, just stop it. Just stop it. That's all. That's the redemption from my point of view. But I'm sure that there's something I must own up to or something I must admit. I've admitted everything that I can remember because there were some blind drunk times and some very, very, very high times that I literally cannot remember. And please don't hold it against me. But I've sort of apologized in general, even on Facebook. I did this general thing several years ago, and I said, please, if I've done something to offend you, any of you, in any way, shape, or form, please accept my apology right now. I'm not, I, because I went through this mental state, they had me on these drugs that I was not aware of certain situations going on. And if I've offended you, let me know because I want to know what I did to offend you and during what period of time did I offend you so that I can try to put some of the pieces together as to what happened to my brain during then. So, in doing so, a couple of folks got in touch with me and they were very kind and they were like, "Yeah, you were pretty crazy back then. So that's what happened to you?" "Yeah." "Well, what did I do?" "Well, you just acted crazy sometimes." "Well, did I hurt anybody? Did I say?" "Well, sometimes a drunk will say things and we just kind of pushed it off as you were drunk." And I was like, "Oh, one of them kind of conditions, huh? I see." So one person told me, they said, "Sometimes you were a little bit too honest with people." And I was like, "Really?" And you hurt their feelings. "Oh, really? But you were honest and it was truth, but you shouldn't have did it the way you did it." "Oh, my little cousin had a glass eye. He threw a ball up and broke a light bulb. Oh, crap. 30 years ago and the eye looked real." Yeah, applied guilt. I agree, Scotty boy. Life is unfair. It's just preparing for you for future disappointments. Yeah, so but what I did was I promised to my son, and oh, I'm doing this in public on a YouTube, but I honestly said I'm sorry for whatever has happened. We know what's happened, and for anything that you may think that happened, like I abandoned you on the front porch, and stuff like that. When it seemed like that, but that was not what really happened. Um, but I promised that I would not interfere with him, his wife, or the grandchild unless they wanted to. So it's been up to them for the last 15 years to not be in touch. So okay, if obviously that's the way you want it. And so I have kept my promise as much as I would. I've tried to sneak little messages like yesterday was his birthday. So I'm doing this video now and happy birthday, Samuel, for whether you like me or not and you hate my guts. Okay, well, I still wish you happy birthday and I still love you. And I'm sorry for whatever torment I put you through. And I'm sorry for the years of my mental health issues. Um, and that's the truth, and it's the best I can do under the circumstances. So, if there's any redemption that needs done, I don't expect any from him if he wishes to contact me. But I don't know if he would like expect something from me, like another apology or something. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, there are other people too, though, that have copped an attitude over the years. Friends of mine, their kids or there's something, and I'm like, me and your dad were really good friends, and I thought you and I were friends even after your dad died. And then somewhere down the line, it's like I have gotten a little nutso with things over the years. Many of the things that I got a little nuts over, though, with them has come true in ways. And I told him to prepare that something big was coming. And I wrote out some and printed them out to some of my friends. And I said, "These are my thoughts and projections. And, good luck to y'all." And ever since I handed out those things, they all just quit talking to me altogether. So it's like, well, there you go then. So some of these, like I started telling them, if you haven't started preparing, you should, and you needed blah 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 blah, blah and that was before the COVID thing and all this other stuff, and and I had several you know I'd spent the 3 days on the river, okay, and the spirits had talked to me about stuff, and I wrote it down. And then I printed it out and gave it to some of these close friends, I thought, and they just started ignoring me altogether. And to this day, they have not contacted me. And I thought we were friends, and it's like, you don't have to believe me. You can, I'm not trying to change your mind. I am trying to warn you about some shit that, was really strong during this 3 days on the river and all that. And the near death and blah, 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 and take it for what you will. But since then, I've seen them on Facebook and stuff, and they're just as confused and nutso and off on some strange tangents. And I thought y'all were learning something, and they just seemed to be backslid. And they were friends of my buddy and me and my buddy, and they're his children, and I feel like they're sort of mine. At least I'm Uncle Dave, and now they won't even listen or talk or pay attention to my comments, like try to give them advice and just common sense advice. Like, oh, don't be so, I offered this one, she did landscape work. And I said, listen, I need landscape work done around here. I need my yard cleaned up really well. Tell me how much you charge. Come out here. I will pay you in cash under the table. You ain't got to write me no receipt. Just tell me how much you'll charge. Oh, she's telling everybody on Facebook I'm out of work. I can't find a job. Listen, you know where I live. You can drive up here. I will pay you in cash. You can't pay this and you don't have that. I will pay you in cash. I have money here at the house. I'll pay you in cash. Come help me with landscape work is what you're doing. You're trying to sell yourself, but um, I have yet to hear from her. And I could still use some landscape work. So anyway, my intentions and what I have hoped would help other people and, close friends and their family and whatever. And it just ain't worked out, so I feel like I'm the failure. Somehow I failed to communicate with these people, or did they just decide not to listen? And I mean, just to, hey, come see me. I'll pay you in cash for landscape work. How hard is that? I don't know how much you charge, but I got some money. I will pay you in cash. You need money. I will give it to you, lend it to you because of past history and so forth. But you say you want to work for it, then anyway. So I don't understand when when I needed help when my son was growing up because my daughter was up in Ohio. So when my son's growing up, and I was still married to his mama. I had friends of mine that I worked with that said, "Look, I need help around the house. Stop by, and there's about an hour and a half's worth of work. I've got a little flower bed that I'm cleaning up, and I want you to do some, I want you to clean this little bed up for me. Well, you get $20 for doing that. And back then, $20 was a lot of money. So yeah, I'd stop and I'd help this person out, and and then I'd get home a little late, but I had $20 cash, because our pay didn't come till the end of the month. It was a once a month deal. So it wasn't the end of the month or the first, whatever it was. But anyway, but I got $20 and for 2 hours worth of work. And back then that was a crap load of money when a minimum wage was like 3.75. And so, but so people kept me with part-time work extra on the side to help supplement, not my drug money, but to supplement me raising my child. So, but my son don't know none of that. He does none of that, and all the hard work and the extra work and the extra hours and being tired and none of that. So to this day, none of the small things that got him to where he is today. Um, because all those little tiny moments back when he was growing up, I was there as much as I could be. I was working hard to support him and to keep him, you know. So, doesn't that count as part of my redemption? I don't know. This is sort of just a conversation in my tiny little brain. So, but I did want to say that I was a lousy parent. I will admit that. I'm not going to go into any detail, but yeah, I was a lousy parent, especially in the eyes of someone who expected more of me. But as somebody who is still homesteading place, who dug his own well and who did all these things, and um, that's who I was, have been for all of my life. So if who I am and who I have developed into being is not to your liking, I'm really sorry. You know, I'm sorry that I was a pioneer because I didn't have the money to pay for it. I had to struggle. I had to go through all these things and blood, sweat, and tears, and just to have this place after all these years. But it's paid for, you know, and it's one of the few places that have access to the Little Ocklawahnee River. It's still a special place. And it's still very special in that it is one of the few places that has access to the Little Ocklawahnee River. That makes it special in its own little place. Not that I'm going to get anything out of this, but that's what makes it so special. So, but does anybody care? Nah, only the people around here care. That's why I told my buddy the other day. I said, I still haven't heard from my granddaughter. Still haven't heard from my other grandson. Still haven't heard from this person or that person who were supposed to come, and we were going to discuss the property and so forth and how this might work out. I said, I still want you to have first grab. I said, whatever it is, plant me in the ground someplace. And I said, that's my deal. I want you to bury me. That's what I want out of this, and you can have the property. We'll work this out somehow. But with no participation from anyone else, what do they expect me to do? You know, you won't come visit me now. You won't come visit the place. Why should why should I leave it to you? And people, oh, you should leave it to your daughter and your granddaughter, and you should leave it to the women. And I know she's, a lesbian, and no problem there. And but if you're not going to come up here and use the place, if it's just going to sit and you're not going to pay the taxes on it or whatever, why should I leave it to you? And I've told her that straight up. You know, if you're not going to use it, if you're not ever going to come up here, why should I bring it? Why should it go to you? It should go to somebody who's going to appreciate the place and who's going to understand what it means to have this little piece of heaven down here on the river. So redemption and my redeeming qualities, but it's already here, it's already this, and you just don't want to participate in any way. Okay. So, but anyway, does Samuel know? Um, and he hates his middle name because it's David. So to Samuel David, no, sorry, I've named you that for I still love you. I always have wished you luck with your. He plays a mean guitar and is a really decent painter, a sure enough painting painter. And I wish him luck and good fortune and so forth. And I think it was his 51 birthday. 23. He was born in 72, or so he was born in 74. So he's 49, not 51. Okay, so I'm back up a year. But anyway, yeah, he was born in 74. So 23, that'd make him 49. But anyway, so happy birthday, Samuel. Um, I hope your life is well because have done as I have promised to stay out of your life. And so that you could whatever that life it is you want to be with your wife and your son. Okay. So to me, that is a large sacrifice on my part, because I would love to, grow up with my grandson. I'd love to take him fishing or whatever, or learn my side of things, whether he likes them or not, but, at least give him the opportunity to, hey, go fishing in the swamp, or, um, maybe he would like to come down here and go, walking down there where his mama would not, and all the family, you know, uppity muckety schmuck. Is my grandson really like that? Or did some of me come through there? Did the adventurer come out in him at all? If so, come on, come on, Xander, let's go off on an adventure. Your grandpa wants, let's go. But um, for me growing up, for my sister and I, we were denied our mother because our mother was our aunt, right? We were adopted by our uncle. And even until she died, they would not admit, she wouldn't discuss it. Whatever deal they made back in the day when Lynn and I were adopted, they made some kind of deal, a pact with God or whatever, to not talk about it, to whatever, and they didn't. They all died with closed lip. Certain things were not discussed ever. We were told to just let it go. But what about this? Let it go. But what about that? Let it go. And I mean, they all, Arnie, he passed away that way. Bessie went to her grave. Grandma Raleigh, she talked a little bit, but um, they all went to their grave with whatever secrets that we still don't know about my sister and I in certain circumstances. Okay. So to have been denied our mother because of whatever promises or whatever. So it's like now in my old age to wish that I could at least talk with my grandson. How you doing? You getting along okay? Okie doke. Don't have to have any influence on him. Um, but to have that kept from me, and other people do it too. Well, I'm not going to let you see your grandson or your granddaughter, or we're just not going to visit you or whatever. And it happens all the time. It would happen to my sister. It happened to this. It happens all the time. All right. They use the children as some kind of, bargaining chip. Well, my grandson, in a way, is a bargaining chip. Well, we're just not going to he's not going to know about you. You're not going to have any communication with him. And okay, and that leverage. Thank you. The very good. But the whatever leverage it is against me, what it is at this point, after all these years, look at me in the eye. It's revenge. It's revenge. Well, I'm after all these years, it's still, I'm not going to get because I'm still mad at you after all these. This is revenge. You're not going to see your grandchild or have any contact. This is what revenge looks like. Ah, yeah, leverage. I agree, but leverage to what? So, but anyway, you know, after so much time, after so many years, after whatever, when is it, quote, redemption, and when does it just, to me right now, it's just revenge. Uh, well, see, that's one of the things I have thought about. Well, if my grandson doesn't know me, then how can he suffer? It would only be in the grand scheme of things that if he found out later on as he got older, you mean I could have been talking to my grandpa about this? You mean grandpa knows about all this stuff? You mean grandpa knows how to, you mean grandpa knows how to, you mean grandpa knows what? You mean grandpa's got 18 acres down on the river? What? And you have withheld my grandfather from me? The universe says this is what's going to happen, that it's going to blow up in their face. I don't know if it's going to happen, but the universe told me years ago, be patient, Dave. It's going to come back around. That karma is going to come back around. And the karma is going to be simply, he's going to want to know who I am. And I'm just down the road from him 20 miles. It's not like I'm in another country or in another state. I'm not even in another county. So you mean grandpa lived right down there and y'all wouldn't talk to him or let me talk? Well, when I get to be a man and I can do a Google search and I can do my own thing and I got my own car, and if I want to go see him, I can. So I'm leaving it up to the universe. So the question will be then, how's he going to feel towards his mother and father if he does show up one day and want to chat, which I welcome. Xander, you're welcome anytime. Um, you can call, write, come down anytime. You don't need my permission or whatever, but would I leave this place to Xander? Well, I would, except that there's so much on the other side of the family that worthwhile and land and whatever. Would he actually accept any of this, or has he adopted my son's attitude where they would be so snooty as to, well, we wouldn't even pay the taxes on that place. It wouldn't be worth it. So, okay, scratch moving right along here, you know. And so one of the things that I've discussed with a person was, they said, well, what do you want out of life from now on? And I said, well, I've made it to 70 and I'm pushing for 80. So what do I want? I want a backhoe. What? Yep. What do you want in life? And I said, I want a backhoe. I want to dig this pond in the backyard that I've been waiting 40 years to do. And since I'm not going to die anytime soon that I know of, I want a backhoe. And it doesn't have to be a new one, but I want a backhoe. What do I want out of life? I want to finish what I sort of started, and I want to build this pond back here in the back. And I want to see my vision for the last 40 years actually come to fruition, simply because I want to see it done. And I'm on my own property, ain't got to go nowhere. And I would love to do the construction and fix it up down there and make a pond and make it worthwhile. And that's what do I want to do until I die from. I want a backhoe so I can build a pond. That's what I want. Not an expensive one, but that's what do I want. So we were talking about basically selling my property for a backhoe and a couple of other things, and that I would live here until I passed away, you know, and that they would still plant me up on the hill because there's nothing else that can be done with that little piece of property that's up there. So, all of that is like, copacetic. So why not go ahead with that rather than trying to worry about family or somebody else or blah, 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 you know. So what I want out of life, I'm hoping I can finagle a backhoe so I can build a pond, you know. But anyway, I've been here for almost 2 hours and we passed another 20, didn't we? But anyway, I'm going to light this bowl again. Um, but I've talked about myself enough again and about family situations, but I know other folks who are in very similar situations as myself. The grandchildren are being withheld as hostages in a way to not know their grandparents. Now, so I know some of these grandparents, And I would argue that they don't need to know these grandparents. Some of these grandparents are pretty wacko. So one could say that Uncle Dave's kind of wacko too, because I fit into this sort of category. A little shack in the swamp, and blah. I've got long hair. Hey, Miss Pearl, how you doing? Like a cheap reverse mortgage. Yes, kind of, sort of. Yep. And so, I would be assured that they would get the property when I pass. It would be assured that I could live here until I pass, but that they would still have rights to come here on the property. It's not like they couldn't come down here until I pass because we're sharing stuff now and they're not even, we haven't even made the deal other than a conversation. So, but as far as I'm concerned, that I'm still up with that deal. And but what do I want out of life? I want to be able to clean up the place, and I can't do it physically by myself. So that Kubota we rented last year for the $1,000 that we spent renting it for a week, I could have put a couple more thousand down and have been buying a brand new one. So, but if there are payments made to me in a reverse mortgage, then I can buy me a little Kubota and pay for it, and build upon. Pearl, I've sent you a bunch of prayers. So I was going to call you the other day, and I don't know where your number is, but I called you in my head and was hoping that everything was going well. So agenda is why they started this whole women's rights thing. Women don't need a man. Stay home. Mother is wrong. Oh, yeah. We go to the homeless shelter Friday after living in hotels this last month. Is that a good thing? The homeless shelter? I would hope that they could get you maybe in a projects or something, but sometimes that takes forever. Yeah, and seeing if my dream had worked out, I would have small, to- several small, tiny homes on this place. So, like Pearl, she called me and we had a little discussion. But you can put up a tent here, but I don't have any physical place for you to stay. But my dream 20 years ago was the Hermitage, and to be able to invite people to come down here if they didn't have a place to stay or they needed to get away from stuff and I am still open to that. But in my dream of dreams, I was like, man, I'll be able to, collect wood. I know how to build, you know, um, using, I've had lots of years of practice with using different types of materials, and the siding on my house is from old tobacco barns and things. And, that I would have small, tiny homes that would be small little efficiencies. And that if somebody needed a place to stay, they'd have it. And rustic, yes. Not sloppy, but rustic, yes. If you wanted a bunch of sheetrock and pearly stuff and that, probably not. It would be rustic, but nice. And that hasn't happened. You know, I'm not dead yet. It would still be nice to be able to do it. If somebody wanted to come for a vacation, or they just wanted to come down and say hi to Dave, or whatever, I would have a place for somebody to come and stay because my house is just too small and it's tough to get up and down these stairs. But so my dream is still there, just like the pond is in the backyard. So my redemption of sorts to whomever I've offended over the years, you're welcome to come down here. Whether you like what you see or not, you're still welcome. You can places where you can walk through the woods and wander down to the river. It's still here. Um, Great Spirit has blessed me with the caretaker for this land for these last 40 years, and I feel blessed and full of grace because I am still here. And, you know, in my heart of hearts, I'm sharing it with folks, whether they actually show up here or not. And but the my intent is still in that. Um, I wished I had the tiny homes. Yeah, I'm fixing to go to bed too. Take care, stay safe. Hope you're feeling better, Steve, and with your nose and everything. And I hope your mama turns out better tomorrow. First bit up next is narcissist, psycho, or sociopath. 14 million views. Sounds like an epidemic. I would agree with that on that. Psycho or sociopath. Yep. And some of these folks with this gender thing, oh, holy mackerel. But anyway, it's been 2 hours and 1 minute. So I love you all and thank you for hanging out with me. No matter, I wished I had done better 20 years ago, 30 years ago. What's done is done. And I would hope that, there are other people. This ain't just about me, but I can't speak about other people. I know some folks, one gentleman that I know for a long time, who, one of his daughters got pissed off at him, and her mother, said, well, has your daddy ever touched you? And then they got a warrant against him and put his ass in jail. And for the longest time, like 15 years, they had him as a pedophile. And he told me, he said, David, I never touched my daughter. He said, I would never do that. And I was like, well, I would hope not. And then finally, she went to court and told the judge that she had lied as a teenager, and that 15 years later she felt guilty and wanted to set the record straight. So he was finally cleared of being a sexual predator and and that didn't take away the fact all the money that he spent, the time in jail that he spent. He had to wear an ankle bracelet and the humiliation, but at least she came clean. So it's like, oh my God. So, stuff happens in life. And, hopefully the redemption is in our hearts. Like if there's anything else I could do, I'd do it, but I don't know what. And so therefore, I feel like in the energy of stuff, I have fulfilled my obligation. I don't know what else to do in this situation. So am I cleared of all wrongdoing? Well, it ain't it over with? Didn't we go through this? Ain't it done with? So why would I like have guilt or whatever? We dealt with all this years ago. So, if am I trying to feel guilty over this or drum up old feelings or what? No. But at the same time, it's like, okay, is now the lack of contact revenge for past events? And I just put it out there to the universe. That's all. Am I blaming him? No. But, if I was watching somebody else's situation, I'd go, seems like they've gone a little overboard with this, maybe. Like I can't send you a birthday wish on Facebook because you blocked me. You blocked my Aunt Shirley. You blocked my sister, and we want to wish you a happy birthday. Can you like get over this? you know? Okay. But anyway, so we still love and pray. and just that whatever mindset will change. Like, just quit being mad, just quit being mad. That's all. Just quit being mad. Quit carrying a grudge. That's all. Can't change it all. We won't discuss it, but life's really too short to just live all the time with just carrying a grudge. And the after effects of things that I've done that it took me years to acknowledge and to apologize for, the years of regret of like, man, why didn't I say something? Or how come I, was such an idiot and did this? And how, I know I was drunk and high, but God Almighty, how could I do this? And I'm paying for it now. I've embarrassed myself and blah, blah, gone to jail for it. But it's then. So, in the coming days, weeks, months, and years, I just hope that I can continue to. I don't see me having any issue with staying on the path of trying to do better. And this is probably as much as I'm going to discuss this thing about my son or my daughter about this, because I don't want to harp on it, and they've made their decisions. So I just hope that in the universe of things, the universe will come down upon them and give them a different point of view at some point. And if not, it's okay, you know. But I do not feel any guilt on my part because I've done the best that I know how to do. And if they won't talk to you or acknowledge you or receive any messages or anything from you or your family, then how can you communicate and how you might feel, or to try to maybe break the silence and have conversation. But if it's not being accepted, then there is no redemption. So, but anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much for being my friends and being my subscribers. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And in between these little verses, ween, it is that time, and we love you all. And, during the last few days, I'm always being reflective about a couple of things. And Isby's passing got me into a certain mindset. And then I just didn't feel good for a couple of days. And but in that reflection time, when you're kind of in that not necessarily fetal position, but you don't feel real well, so you're just kind of curled up and just trying to get through it, right? Muddle through. And I continue to think about folks and continue, like I forgot to charge my phone, and I had some folks I wanted to send messages to, and I realized that I just sent those messages in my head. you know, well, I want this person, and I want to send Michelle how, blessings to you and Nate, and hope your weekend's going doing well. And I usually send a message out like that, around the weekend, and meaning it, but praying it. And I was like, oh, I didn't really send that, did I? I sent it in my head. I was like, oh wow, then which moon got one and this person got one. I sent one to them, and then wow, I sent a lot of messages, but they didn't go over my cell phone because my cell phone had the battery had run out and didn't know it till today. Shame on me, kind of thing. But anyway, during these times, I still continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings still out there in the universe. I know I'm still learning, and hopefully, I will continue to learn until I forget. And so, in that law of three, which is important to you and me, I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings in the universe. And just because oh my goodness gracious, it's ween time. Anytime you feel blue, just stand up and holler ween, and it'll make you feel better right there. Yes, take care, everybody. Have a good rest of the week. And our prayers to Isby, who's already made the passing. So we'll be together soon, I hope, with other conversations. I want to do a card reading. I know I've said this before, but I mean, just last week, I just did not feel well enough to do it, but hopefully soon. So fingers crossed, going to do a live stream soon. I love you all. Cheers. Keep the faith. Believe, 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 you know. And until next time, please be safe. Cheers.